The girl who never spoke. In the heart of a sunburnt village in rural Ghana, lived a girl named Amma. Her eyes were bright, but her voice was never heard. From the day she was born, Amma had not uttered a single word. The elders believed she was cursed. Her mother, Abena, said otherwise. She hears everything, Abena would whisper, brushing Amma's hair under the moonlight. And one day, she will speak. But when she does, the earth will tremble. Amma grew up among silence. She learned to communicate with her eyes, her hands, and her soul. Children at school mocked her, calling her the ghost child. Teachers tried to make her speak, but she would only stare at the chalkboard with burning focus, answering every question in writing, never in voice. One evening, as the red sun dipped beneath the baobab trees, Amma found herself wandering beyond the village boundaries. There was a whisper in the wind, calling her to the old shrine that the villagers feared. No child must go there, the chief had warned. That land belongs to the gods. But Amma felt pulled, drawn like a river to the sea. At the heart of the shrine stood a stone statue, worn and cracked. In front of it, an old woman sat cross-legged, her eyes closed, her skin like leather, her voice hoarse as wind through dry leaves. "You've come," the woman croaked. Amma flinched. She had not said a word. "I've waited long," the old woman continued, eyes still shut. "Your silence has power, child. But all power has a price." Then, the statue behind the woman began to glow faintly. The earth beneath Amma vibrated. And for the first time in her life, Amma felt something bubbling in her chest. A voice. Her voice. But before she could speak, the old woman opened her eyes, white, empty, endless. "Speak now," she said, "and the world will hear. But speak in anger, and the world will bleed." Amma's lips parted. Her voice came out, soft as a songbird's call. The shrine shook. And the curse was broken. The village that trembled. The morning after Amma's voice returned, the village awoke to an unfamiliar sound, her laughter. Sweet and clear, it drifted through the dusty streets like wind chimes in spring. Children stared in awe. Elders fell silent. Even the chief came out of his hut, eyes wide in disbelief. Amma's voice was a miracle. But miracles, the villagers soon learned, were double-edged. As word of Amma's voice spread, strangers arrived. A man from the city, wearing a shiny suit and holding a recorder, offered her a scholarship. "With a voice like yours," he said, "you can be on TV. Maybe even sing." Amma smiled politely. But she remembered the old woman's warning. Days passed, and Amma used her voice to tell stories at the village square. Her tales brought peace. A quarreling couple reunited. A sick boy laughed again. Crops began to flourish. The village felt alive. Then came the drought. 3 months, no rain. The chief called on the gods. Drums beat night and day. Offerings were made. Nothing worked. Until Amma stood before the well, dry as bone, and spoke, "Rain shall fall." The next morning, clouds rolled in. Rain poured. The earth drank deeply. The villagers began to worship her. And Amma grew afraid. She stopped speaking, but the people begged her, "Say something, heal my child, bless my farm, speak to the gods." Finally, in frustration, Amma shouted, "Leave me alone." Lightning cracked across the sky. The baobab tree near the shrine split in two. A boy went blind. A woman miscarried. Chickens died overnight. Amma had spoken in anger. And the world had bled. Crying, Amma returned to the shrine. The old woman was gone, but the statue remained. "I didn't ask for this," Amma whispered. The statue glowed again. From its mouth, a voice echoed, "To hold power is to choose." Silence over noise. Peace over praise. Truth over fear. Amma placed her hands on the stone and closed her eyes. From that day, she never spoke again. But her silence was different now. It was chosen. And it was powerful. The girl who never spoke. In the heart of a forgotten village, where red dust ruled the roads and baobab trees stood like ancient guards, a girl named Amma was born into silence. Not the silence of peace or rest, but the kind that unnerved the birds, startled the mothers, and forced the elders to whisper under their breath. Amma didn't cry when she was born. No wail, no scream, not even a whisper passed her lips. The midwife slapped her tiny back 3 times, growing paler with each hit, until finally Amma opened her eyes, not her mouth, and simply stared. Wide, unblinking, powerful. "She's not right," the midwife had muttered. Her mother, Abena, had swaddled her close and hissed through her teeth. "Leave her alone. She is mine." And so Amma grew, quiet, observing, always present but never heard. Children around her learned to walk, run, speak. Amma walked and ran faster than all of them. But she never spoke. Her silence grew into legend. They called her, the ghost child, the mute one, even, the omen. Only her mother believed differently. "She listens to the wind," Abena would say, pounding yam with sweat glistening on her brow. "She hears the ancestors." But deep inside, even Abena sometimes feared her child. There were moments when she'd wake in the middle of the night and find Amma sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. Or when she'd find all the village dogs gathered outside their hut, howling without cause. The village elders watched Amma with suspicion. Chief Kojo once called her mother privately. "She must be taken to the priest," he said. "That kind of silence isn't natural." Abena only shook her head. "And if it's not natural, perhaps it's divine." Amma's school life was no better. Her classmates teased her relentlessly, mimicking her silence, pointing fingers, and calling her names. But Amma never flinched. She always wrote her answers perfectly, finished exams faster than anyone, and drew pictures of things no one taught. Maps of stars, strange animals, cities no one in the village had seen. One day, during a school assembly, a new teacher from the city tried to force her to speak. "Say your name," he demanded, tapping his stick on the table. Amma simply looked at him. Calm. Clear. Cold. The stick slipped from his hand. That evening, she wandered farther than usual. Her feet led her beyond the yam fields, past the graves of the ancestors, and into the dense bush. The village claimed the forest was cursed. But Amma felt no fear, only an irresistible pull. The path opened as though the trees themselves recognized her. Vines shifted. Leaves parted. She reached the old shrine by nightfall. The air grew colder there, though the sun still glowed faintly on the horizon. The shrine was small, made of cracked stone, moss-covered, and filled with carved symbols no one had taught her to read, yet she understood them all. In the center sat an old woman. Her back was curved like a question mark, her skin like dry bark. Eyes closed, silent. Until she spoke. "You've come, finally." Amma didn't move. The woman chuckled, dry and ancient. "You think you're silent. But child, your silence has been shouting across the spirit world since you were born." Amma tilted her head, intrigued. The woman continued. "You are the vessel. The one chosen not to speak, but to hold the voice of many." Amma felt her chest tighten. "Do you wish to speak?" the woman asked. Amma slowly nodded. "There is a price," the old woman said, and then pointed behind her, to the great stone statue, tall and cracked. It looked like a forgotten god, one eye broken, lips sealed shut with metal threads. This is the keeper of echoes, the woman said. You may speak, but your voice shall become more than yours. It will shake hearts, move mountains, tear lies open, but beware, speak in anger, and it will destroy. The ground trembled slightly. Amma stepped forward. Her hands were trembling, but her eyes remained steady. She placed her fingers on the statue. It was ice cold. Then, like a breath rushing through a blocked pipe, she felt her chest swell. She gasped. And then, she spoke. A single word. Light. The shrine burst into soft golden glow. Fireflies erupted into the air. Wind whirled in circles. And the statue smiled. The old woman opened her eyes, pure white, no pupils, no color. You have awakened it, she said softly. Now the world will listen. But will it survive what it hears? Amma turned and walked away, her voice now humming softly in her throat like a sleeping lion. The wind whispered behind her. Remember, child, speak in peace, or silence will save more lives than words ever can. The village that trembled. Amma returned to the village with a different presence. She walked the same red paths, wore the same threadbare slippers, and greeted her mother with the same silent hug. But something had changed, something the wind whispered about, something even the goats seemed to notice. That night, Abena sat beside the fire, watching her daughter hum a soft melody, her first song. My child, she said, voice trembling, you spoke. Amma nodded. And Amma looked up, eyes glowing faintly gold beneath the firelight. I found my voice. Abena wept quietly into her scarf, not from fear, but from relief. She had waited 15 years to hear even a whisper. This was a river breaking free of stone. The next day, Amma went to school. She said, "Good morning," to the teacher, her voice soft, clear, like rainfall on dry leaves. The teacher dropped his chalk in shock. Students stared. Kofi, the class joker, blinked like he'd seen a ghost. No one laughed. During recess, children surrounded her, speaking to her as though she'd returned from the grave. What does your voice feel like? Do you talk in your sleep? Can you say my name? Amma smiled and said, you already know your name. Why would you need me to say it? They all laughed, but there was something uneasy about it. Amma wasn't the same girl anymore, and everyone knew it. By evening, word had spread. Chief Kojo himself sent a messenger. He summoned Amma to his hut, where he sat with his long staff and his council of elders. Young girl, he began, peering at her, the spirits have restored you. The gods are generous. Amma didn't respond. One elder leaned forward. Can you speak to the gods now? Ask them for blessings. Amma shook her head. They don't take requests. They answer truths. The room fell still. What truth do you speak now? The chief asked, voice wary. Amma looked directly into his eyes. You hoard the village's yam stores while children go hungry. Gasps filled the hut. The chief's face turned pale, then flushed red. You dar. But before he could rise, the ground beneath him trembled slightly. His staff cracked in half. Everyone ran from the hut. Amma stood alone inside, quiet again, but her presence filled the space like thunderclouds on the horizon. In the days that followed, Amma became a mystery even the ancestors whispered about. She began to speak only when needed. Her words carried weight, healing wounds, revealing lies, even making thieves confess without being caught. Her voice could calm crying babies and tame fighting dogs. The village, once mocking her, now hung on her every syllable. But with reverence came danger. A man named Mensa arrived from the city. He wore shiny shoes, carried a leather bag, and claimed he was from a radio station. Your daughter, he told Abena, could be famous. Her voice, it's magic. The world needs to hear it. Abena hesitated. The world. What does the world know about us? Mensa chuckled. The world pays. That night, Amma sat beneath the baobab and watched the stars. I don't want to be famous, she whispered to no one. The stars listened. 2 moons later, the drought came. The sky turned silver. No rain. The ground cracked. Wells dried. Leaves fell from trees like forgotten promises. The villagers panicked. The chief begged the gods. Drums beat. Goats were sacrificed. Children cried. And still, no rain. Finally, a crowd gathered outside Amma's hut. Speak, girl, one woman begged. Ask the heavens for rain. We believe in you now, another man said. Your voice has power. Amma stood on her mother's porch, looking out at desperate faces. She walked calmly to the center of the village, near the dry well. She looked up at the sky, raised her hand, and said only 3 words. Let rain come. Then she turned and walked away. That night, thunder rolled across the land. Clouds formed like bruises in the sky. Rain fell, wild, beautiful, endless. The earth drank until it overflowed. Crops smiled again. The village sang. Amma didn't celebrate. The chief came to her home with gifts, gold bangles, cloth from the north, roasted goat meat. You saved us, he said. Amma didn't open the door. A week passed. Then another. And the villagers grew restless again. My wife is sick, a man said. Tell Amma to speak healing. My child can't walk, said another. Amma can fix it. Every day, new people came. Every day, Amma said less and less. Until one evening, a desperate mother knelt before her. My baby hasn't eaten in days, she cried. Please, just say something. Amma remained silent. The woman, in her grief, spat at Amma's feet. Useless witch. And that was the moment the dam broke. Amma stepped forward, eyes fierce. You come to me when you're empty. You treat me like a god when I help. A witch when I don't. I am not your answer. I am a girl. A child. Not your savior. Her voice echoed across the village. Thunder cracked. The ground split near the shrine. Chickens screeched. A palm tree caught fire. By dawn, the village had changed. A boy was blind in one eye. The chief had collapsed in the night. A woman had lost her unborn child. The people were silent, afraid. Amma returned to the shrine. The old woman was gone. Only the statue remained, silent, patient. Amma knelt before it. Her tears fell onto the stone. I didn't mean to hurt them, she whispered. The statue glowed faintly. A voice came, not hers, not the old woman's, but something older. To speak is to create. To create is to carry weight. Your voice is not a weapon unless you forge it in anger. Amma touched the statue once more. Then she closed her mouth, and chose silence again. But this time, it wasn't because she couldn't speak. It was because she understood the power of silence. Years later, people still spoke of the girl who brought rain, who healed wounds, and broke truths open like coconuts. No one knew where she had gone. Some said she became a priestess in the north. Others claimed she vanished into the forest to join the spirits. But the baobab tree she once sat beneath now stood taller than any other. And on quiet nights, when the wind blew just right, it whispered her name. Amma. The girl who spoke once, and made the world tremble. The whisper that never died. By morning, the entire village had heard the news. Amma was back. Some rushed to the baobab tree to see if it was true. Others peered cautiously from behind curtains, whispering to one another, Was she a ghost, a prophet, or just an old woman with secrets buried in her silence? But Amma was gone. Only a circle of disturbed red earth remained beneath the tree, and young Zaki's voice lingered in the air like an echo from a forgotten time. She said, "Power lies in silence." That phrase took root. Children carved it into wooden benches at school. The market women began to hum it in lullabies. Even the elders, once skeptical of her, spoke her name in hushed reverence. Years passed. Zaki grew older, wiser, haunted in the best way by that strange meeting beneath the baobab tree. He began writing stories. First in old notebooks, then in printed pages, then across the world's screens. Stories of truth, fear, silence, and sound. Stories that made people cry, made them think, made them remember. And on every book's first page were the words, "To Amma, the woman who brought the rain, and taught me to listen." One day, during a global conference in Johannesburg, Zaki stood before a sea of faces, holding a leather-bound copy of his latest book. Cameras flashed. Applause rang. A reporter asked, "Who was Amma, really?" Zaki paused, then smiled. She was the storm, and the silence after it. And somewhere, beyond wind and sky, Amma smiled too. Her voice might have disappeared from the world, but her whisper, it never died. The end.